Good morning, everyone. Welcome to my channel. My name is Claire Longo, and today I'm talking about how to overcome imposter syndrome. So what is imposter syndrome? Well, it's that feeling of being underqualified. Imposter syndrome is rampant in artificial intelligence and tech today because these are developing fields. These fields are actually being developed under our feet. And imposter syndrome, it can literally prevent you from adding value. Here's how it does that. You'll be too afraid to speak up in meetings and share your ideas. The other issue is that you'll strive towards perfectionism, which means that you're actually going to work really, really slow, which is another way to kind of hold yourself back. All right, so let's dive in. Here are those 10 steps to overcome imposter syndrome. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is develop a really strong understanding of the core foundational concepts in AI, because once you have that down, you're going to be able to quickly learn and digest these new technologies that are being developed. So as I mentioned earlier, like it's not possible to know everything about AI. You're not going to know all the tech and tools because they're literally being created. You're not going to know all the mathematical modeling approaches because they're literally being researched and discovered today. What you can do, though, is know the languages that those things are written in, because what that means is you'll then be able to go in and pick up something new quickly and digest it. So what are those languages? Well, it's two things. It's mathematics and it's software engineering. So if you understand the language of math, you can read equations, you're able to read and digest a research paper. You're going to be able to quickly understand and intuitively get a sense for how these machine learning models work. The second thing is software engineering. If you have a good understanding of software engineering best practices, maybe you know one language, but not all of them, that's going to position you to learn other concepts in that field as well. And those two things together make AI. You've got your mathematics and you've got your software engineering. Specifically within mathematics, the topics that are going to be the most foundational for AI are going to be your probability and statistics. Then the other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to find a few things to go really deep on. So we can show mastery in just a few concepts. We're going to start to build credibility. So it doesn't really matter what that niche is, but if you find an area that you're really excited about and you just go deep and you learn all the nuances, what you're doing is you're demonstrating your ability to go deep, and then you'll have kind of that muscle built up so that you know how to learn something at a deep level. And you can also prove to other people that you do have that technical depth. All right, so then what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to showcase your strengths. Just like it's important to understand what your weaknesses are so that you can go learn and fill those gaps, it's also important to be self-aware enough that we actually know what our strengths are. And then once we know what those strengths are, it's important to look for actual opportunities to showcase them. I feel like so many times, like we're just like, here's my weaknesses, here's the next thing I'm going to go learn. And then we'll go seek projects that will challenge us. And that's awesome. We should keep doing that. But we need to balance it with actually applying our strengths as well. That way we're adding value in the role in the best way possible. We're positioning ourselves for promotion and career success. And by showcasing your strengths, like you're really going to continue to develop them. Like the worst thing you want to do is like not be aware of a strength and let it become a weakness. But if we keep flexing that muscle, it's going to help build our confidence and help us ultimately overcome imposter syndrome and gain that confidence that we need to also confidently attack the things that we don't know. Hands-on experience is so much better than studying or researching. This gets into really just challenging yourself to go do and apply something before you feel like you're an expert in it. So I feel like when I'm learning a new concept, I can read books, I can listen to YouTube tutorials, I can take online courses all day, but it's actually not going to stick in my head until I actually try to do it hands-on. And I've learned that it is better to move into that hands-on phase sooner rather than later because it'll make you learn faster. And you might surprise yourself in how much you actually do know and can figure out just by doing it. All right, so moving on with another tip here to overcome imposter syndrome. Keep an eye on being a perfectionist. Perfectionism is really kind of like the enemy of success here. Striving towards perfection, you're kind of setting a bar that's almost impossible for you to reach. So you've set kind of a standard for yourself that is only going to make you kind of feel bad when it's really hard to meet. And I think it's better to build with a more of an iterative mindset. Building towards perfection takes a long time. It's slow. And it's also not really possible to know what perfect looks like without getting feedback, seeing results, and kind of iterating. So my personal motto is ship it and iterate. I'd much rather get something simple out there, get some feedback, and start to kind of improve it over time. And this will help you overcome imposter syndrome because you'll start to kind of see the impact of your work. You'll be seen as a contributor. It's much, much better to move quickly and work towards perfect and quality than to try to knock that out in one go. All right, so the other thing you want to keep in mind is chaos is opportunity. This is something that I personally seek. I seek chaotic environments and chaotic projects because I like to transform chaos into structure. And if you find yourself like in over your head, you're kind of in the right place because that means you're challenging yourself. So if you feel challenged, if you feel in over your head, if you feel overwhelmed, that doesn't mean like you're an imposter, you're not qualified. That means you're in the right room. And what you want to start doing is looking for solutions to all the chaos and the problems that you're encountering. And that becomes opportunity, that becomes career growth. So if you come into a situation, a project, a company that is feeling some chaos and you layer in structure and solutions, you're adding a ton of value. So don't be afraid to like truly feel in over your head. Just remember, like, if I'm feeling in over my head, these kind of challenges that I'm feeling, these are opportunities that I should be looking at and trying to find ways to contribute here. Now, you want to be able to identify and admit the things that you don't know. It's okay to say, I don't know. That's pretty expected in this industry. So you're going to want to get pretty comfortable with that feeling and with saying that. And then you want to balance that with sharing about the things that you do know. Again, don't just focus on the things you don't know. It's great to be aware of them, but share the things that you do know. Like speak up and try to contribute what you may feel be like what little you do know. It might feel like it's not relevant, it doesn't matter. Everyone else here probably already knows that too. You might actually be surprised. So do not be afraid to speak up and talk about those things that you actually do know. And those things might seem like simple to you, but you might be surprised like how much your audience is like, oh yeah, I haven't like thought of that, or like that's a valuable perspective that I hadn't considered. So you might surprise yourself. Just speak up, share the things that you do know, and don't be afraid if those things feel trivial. You might surprise yourself. Then to really switch that mindset from imposter syndrome to more of a growth mindset is you want to be self-aware enough that you know how far you've come. Here's an example of what I mean by that. If I look back on my career a year ago, I'm like, wow, I didn't know crap a year ago. Look how far I've come. If I look to last week, I'm like, wow, I didn't know crap last week. Look how much I've figured out since last week. Looking at things with a lens of like growth will help you kind of put into context how quickly you actually can learn and be a little bit of like an encouraging way to remind yourself that like, hey, I might not know everything today, but I can totally figure it out because look, I've figured out all this stuff so far. Then one of the final tips, I think this is actually so important. You just want to be able to be yourself. It is really exhausting to try to put on a different persona or different personality to fit into different environments. And eventually, what you'll start to feel is like you're not acting in your own authentic energy. And if we're not acting like ourselves, like, of course, we're going to start to kind of feel like an imposter. I think like the worst thing you can do is like have like some kind of like dress code where people have to like dress like business casual. Like, obviously, they're like putting on a uniform, like literally trying to change who they are and their personality and how they present themselves to fit in. And then you're going to wonder why they don't do their best work. Like, obviously, because they're not their best selves in the environment. So just be yourself. And you'll start to just feel more energized. It's super exhausting to like pretend to be someone else for a really long time or pretend to just be like a portion of yourself. So you'll actually like really enjoy work a little bit more if you find an environment where you can truly just like be accepted as yourself. All right, so the last tip I'm going to leave y'all with is this one. In your career, there's going to be three different kinds of people that you meet. There's going to be people that you want to work with, people that you want to work for, and people that you want to work around. So let's dive in a little bit to those three different types. The people that you want to work with, these are going to be your peers and your collaborators. They should be really collaborative, supportive people. You should be supporting them. They support you and you grow together. Those people are pretty easy to identify. It should just feel like pretty natural collaboration. The other one is people you want to work for. So these are going to be like leaders, bosses, people who you feel like you can learn a lot for, people you very much admire and respect. What you want to do when you identify someone like that, who you think you can learn a lot from, is really to like find a way to work for them, find a way to just be a part of their day to day, follow them around, study them, take notes, figure out how to be like that, take their advice, and mentorship if you can get it. You'll know it when you see it. Like if there's somebody that's just really somebody you respect, want to be like, want to learn from, that you can identify, knows what they're doing, and you can learn a lot from, those are people that you want to figure out how to work for. The last category is people that you want to work around. So it's not going to be super common in your career. It's actually going to be really rare. And you're not going to be able to identify these people right away. The reason is you need to give people a few chances before you make a decision about which category they're going to fall in. But essentially, like people that you need to work around are people who are going to really define their success by the failure of the other people around them. So they're going to need you to fail for them to feel good about themselves. This is not going to be a great collaborator. This is somebody who's going to enhance your imposter syndrome because they're constantly going to be finding ways to cut you down, put you down, make you feel bad, make you feel not good enough. And if you can't resolve the communication with this person, I recommend like trying multiple times to find a way to really understand this person, work with them. You might end up with like a best friend and end up like working really well together. So you've got to make that attempt. But after multiple attempts, if that's not possible, like at that point, you've got to just kind of label like this is the kind of person I'm going to have to work around. And what you don't want to do is stay up late at night, letting this one keep you up, overanalyzing it, like that kind of thing. Just accept it for what it is. You've identified it, you figured your way to work around it, and you just do it. Like, don't let this one really knock you down, because this is all about mindset again. And if you've got kind of like a negative, toxic person that's making you feel bad about yourself and your like ability to contribute, you're not going to be able to like explain it to that person. They're like, oh yeah, wow, I get it. Because you've probably already tried that at a few points. Like what you can't really do anything except for work around this person. And I feel like in that situation, it just helps so much to just know what it is. So all you want to do is kind of label this one and move on and do your work and let your career just be the rocket ship that it is. And that is kind of the best path towards success here. All right, so that's all I've got for y'all. I hope that these tips and tricks to overcoming imposter syndrome helps. Again, I just want to leave y'all with the fact that this is a mindset. It's not about your technical skills. You all have that capability to learn the technical things. This is about showing it to yourself and showing that to other people. So thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope that this video has helped a few of y'all, and drop a comment if it has, and I'd love to hear from y'all.